the first and hopefully last Omen, which got very hyped. I heard nothing but good things about this movie. In fact, so much that I was surprised. I didn't even know this movie existed when it came out. So that's like another whole problem. There's like no marketing in movies anymore. All I knew was that 2 horror movies were coming out that were like religious horror movies, Immaculate and The First Omen. And I was so disinterested, I didn't even connect the fact that this is The First Omen, like a prequel to the Omen franchise.
Is it because everyone's using ad blockers, so we're not even seeing the potential marketing?
All right, that's a very fair point. That's a fair point. I had heard it was like really good. It's a really good prequel, and this is a prequel to The Omen with Gregory Peck. Is this the best prequel in horror films? That's like everybody is saying.
No.
Maybe, I don't know, but like that's not a high bar, really.
That's not a high bar, yeah.
You don't have to be afraid. God has great plans for you.
This is the story of a young American woman who's sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church as a nun, but she encounters a darkness that causes her to question her faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to bring about the birth of evil incarnate.
Boom.
Father Brennan, if you remember, he is the character from the original who was warning Gregory Peck that his son was the Antichrist. He's the one that got impaled. In this movie, we meet him very early on. He is interrogating this other priest about an occult conspiracy that, you know, he thinks is going on. And he receives a photo of a baby with the name Skiana. That priest that he's talking to gets his head split open by a pipe that's falling from the roof. What a great cold open that was. It was really like very much in the style of the original film from the 70s. So one of the standout things to me about this movie right off the bat is that the director, for being her first feature film, I think she did a really good job of being pretty visually and tonally faithful to the original. A lot of the music in this movie, the cinematography, the feel, it had that feel of the original. It's very much a slow burn movie like the original.
I thought this movie was good, but not great. I think it was actually pretty mid comparing it to the original Omen. And I think if not for the lore connecting these two films, it would just be pretty eh. I see now why people were comparing this to Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney, because these two were almost the exact same movie. You don't even have to watch it.
Oh, really? It's that much
that close. Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
I actually did enjoy learning more about the origin of Damien and how he had a twin sister, and getting to see the jackal that they were using to bring about the Antichrist. But at the end of it all, just kind of left me asking why. Why did we need a prequel story when the original did such a great job introducing us to this plot about the Antichrist and giving us quite a bit of backstory already?
Yeah,
the church being the ones behind the whole plot was pretty interesting. I thought that was a good twist.
You get the whole story in the original Omen, though.
Oh, yeah.
This just showed it to you.
Yeah.
Rather than you hearing it from a third party.
Right. Yeah.
So again, did we need to see it? I don't think so.
That's where it left me. I do agree it has some beautiful shots, and I did enjoy the score. I enjoyed the main actress too, outside of the scene after the car accident where she looked like she was becoming a zombie. I thought that scene was terrible. I would have liked to see more of those Final Destination type deaths that we saw in the original. Like I said, the first one sets you up like, oh, nice, we're going to get some of that. And then there's like hardly any of that. I thought the woman hanging herself after setting herself on fire was kind of corny too, and didn't hit like the original at all.
The movie was like a little bit all over the place for me. The movie was good. It's a good movie. It's good as a prequel to The Omen, and it's good on its own. But the two never really like came together. I know that sounds weird. Where I thought the movie slipped was the fact that it needed to be a prequel to The Omen. Like while I think it did some of that stuff well, there's a point in the movie where it completely lost me, and I was like, all right, that's it. Throughout this movie, you're being groomed to believe that it's this other girl, this child at this whatever the fuck it is. She's the one who's going to birth the Antichrist. And it's not until the end of the movie that there's the twist, the big reveal is that dun dun dun, it's been Margaret, our main character, the whole time. Who is going to birth the Antichrist. We also learn that there have been, what was it, like 7 or 10 attempts at...
7, I think it was 7 or 8, yeah.
Now, this is where it lost me, okay? because I thought the two churches like whole thing was interesting. I thought it was cool. You have the one church he explains, which is the church that we are part of, which is the one that like we're servants of Jesus Christ. And then there's the other church, which he doesn't say is a satanic church. They don't worship the devil. This is the interesting part of the story. They are a more old school type of church. They're like Old Testament church
Crusaders.
people. Crusaders. Yeah. They're not like, they're not cool. They're the part of the church.
They want the power.
They're not, well, yeah.
What he says.
Essentially, yes. But I thought it was super interesting and creative that they don't worship the devil. Because in Rosemary's Baby, the original like Antichrist movie, what's the reason for bringing about the Antichrist? Because they worship the devil.
The devil. Yep.
And that's how it was in the original Omen, right? That's what you think. You're left to assume because they don't give you more than that. It's like, oh, hey, this is the Antichrist. You're going to raise him because you're a powerful man. That's all you get. So this I thought is why, as a prequel, it's interesting and did well because it added to the lore. It's like, wow, that's cool.
I thought, because like you said, originally my mind was also leaning towards the church. And what the church being infiltrated by Satan worshippers or something.
Yes.
But so this was definitely a shocker.
But it turns out the reason that they're doing it is because they're afraid of secularism because of the goddamn liberals in the 70s. They're starting to branch out and not believe in what the church believes in. So
who gives a fuck about Jesus? We're not worried about Jesus.
Yeah, we got better things to worry about.
Popping shrooms and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Listening to Hendrix. So the church, in its fear of losing power, turns to the Antichrist, saying like, we need to bring the Antichrist so that we scare people back to the church. What an interesting.
That was the best thing about the entire movie.
Awesome, interesting plot point that is very quickly ruined when they have to talk about all the mechanics of bringing about the Antichrist. Because they should have just left it at that. But why would he have to fuck himself? That made
it has to be disgusting.
No, he has to fuck his offspring, which means this is where the plot just completely goes off the rails for me, and I'm like, I can't separate my brain from it. I understand in movies like this, you have to you have to put those things aside. We tell Dusty about it all the time.
Oh yeah.
But man, I can't put this one aside. It makes no sense. If I'm the devil, okay, and I have sex with a woman, who births my child, why is that child not the Antichrist right then and there?
Just off the rip.
Why do I then have to have
It just had to be gross. That's all.
With the child that I had. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It just had to be more gross. Like, oh, fuck.
But they don't even.
His own kid, too.
But the thing that really bothered me about it is that it was like a 1 second explanation.
Nothing else.
So it's like, what the fuck was the point of that in the script?
Shocker. Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
Didn't even progress the plot. Yeah.
So after that point, it's not because I was grossed or anything. I was just like, well, this makes no sense. Like, I can't even logically wrap my head around why that would have to be the case.
Yep.
So, okay.
Another eye-rolling moment for me. If Father Brennan knew there was a twin sister and thinks they are important, why wasn't this alluded to at all in the original? That was just like a setup for like another movie or something. Like they're gonna battle each other. Like one's gonna be a Republican, the other one's gonna be a Democrat. Like what the fuck is going on?
In the sequel, it's gonna come out. It's gonna be Trump and Hillary are gonna be the two kids.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get a lot of like Father Brennan backstory.
Yeah,
because Father Brennan is the linchpin of the original. Like he's the one that drives the plot forward. He's the one that warns Gregory Peck about what's going on. He's the one that's like constantly trying to warn him. He's been racked for years about this. Like we see he's got Bible pages in his apartment.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But what's the other thing we learn about Father Brennan? He also has the mark of the beast in the Omen. Which means
Nothing explained there.
Which means he was one of the people, part of the conspiracy to begin with.
Yep.
We learned none of that. He's a hero from the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's from the beginning of the movie. Just like we don't learn anything about him. He's just, the movie opens with him like being like, oh, hey, there's this thing going on. But he was part of it.
It's like they started. It was a prequel, but it was like,
hang on,
we're not going to go back that far. We're just going to start literally right before what you already know.
This is literally what you just said. This is Rogue One, but for the Omen. It's like this movie took place mere minutes before the Omen starts.
We already know all that. We know it got burned up. We know all this Give
Yeah.
us way back.
I mean, ultimately, I just don't know why this movie had to exist.
That's it. It had a few good things, but nothing that made me think, wow, we really needed this prequel to bring everything full circle.
And the whole time I was watching this, I was like, wow, like this would have just been better not as a prequel.
Yeah.
Because it muddied everything up.
Yep.
If you would have just made a movie where it's like, oh, there's this chick who's coming to a convent and there's a priest warning her about like this bitch is like gonna bear the Antichrist. Oh shit, it's her the whole time. And like it's not like a satanic cult, they're just church people who are afraid of sex. Like that would have been a much more interesting story to me. Why are we even making a prequel to a movie that didn't even need a prequel to begin with? The Omen gives you all the information you need. The whole movie is him figuring out like what happened and how he got that baby. So story-wise, I'm not a fan. I don't think the movie needed to exist. However, there was a lot of good stuff in this movie.
Some good stuff.
I thought the cinematography was great. I thought the tone of the movie was great. I thought the score was great. The acting was unbelievable. I thought she crushed this movie. She was great.
No, I said she was great. I just didn't like that scene.
No, the scene was goofy as fuck, but her performance in the scene I thought was great.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I agree.
It was visceral. Like she's fucking, she's orgasmic, but in pain at the same time. And it was like very crazy.
That was that jackal coming out of her.
This is just one of those movies where it's like, wow, it could have been like really good. And it just wasn't for a couple of the reasons that we talked about. Mostly for the fact that it decided to be a prequel to The Omen. Like I don't
right. Yeah.
Like had it just not done that, it would have been a way better movie, in my opinion.
That's true.
Do we need more like giving birth to the Antichrist movies in 2024? That's a totally different conversation. I would personally say no. I think
fuck no.
I think that's been done to death and done better.
Yeah.
So but if you're gonna do it, I don't see why it had to be an Omen. This is the definition of mid, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
It has a 6.8 on IMDb. I'm sorry, 6.5. So I'm gonna drop it down. I gotta give it a 5. It's just
Damn.
It's just mid. It's just middle of the road.
Straight up mid.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably give it a 6. It was just good, not great.
I will say I do appreciate that this movie was very tonally similar to horror movies of the 70s. Like it's about tone and mood and pacing is what makes the movie not scary. This was not a scary movie by any stretch, but tense. And it did not rely on jump scares. There was like 3 jump scares in this.
Right. Yeah.
So I appreciate that. One of which I saw coming a million miles away, and that's like when she hangs her clothes up in the beginning earlier in the movie.
Oh yeah.
First of all, it's like, why are you hanging up your clothes like a full-ass human being on the wall? That alone is scary. Like, if you just got to look at that shit in the night, like, fuck all
what the hell?
You knew that shit was coming to life.